Hello and welcome to The Queer Gaze, a gay movie podcast dedicated to examining queer representation and issues.
Today we're dropping a special bonus episode on Griffin in Summer. If you want to hear more of the discussion, including our lip service award, please support The Queer Gaze at patreon.com/thequeergaze.
You'll also get early access to regular main feed episodes and extra content for every single episode.
And you can follow us on social media at The Queer Gaze.
Hello, Joe.
Hello, Conrad.
So, we have a special bonus here. I do like these. This is a new movie that's coming soon?
Yes, this is a new movie that I think it played at the festival circuit. I saw a review on, I want to say, IndieWire, and it caught my attention because it sounded just kind of feel good, like a nice little film.
Well, tell us more. What's it about?
Okay, so in writer-director Nicholas Colia's feature debut, Griffin Naffley, who is played by newcomer Everett Blunck, is the most ambitious playwright of his generation. He's also 14 years old and living with his divorcing parents, including gently alcoholic mother Helen, who is played by the wonderful Melanie Lynskey, and they live in the humdrum suburbs outside of New York. But everything changes, Conrad, when a handsome 25-year-old slacker loser export from New York City named Brad, who is played by Owen Teague, enters the picture, and in doing so, Griffin's life and his new play take an unexpected turn. Because yes, this is about a 14-year-old boy who gets a crush on a 25-year-old loser burnout.
Wow, that sounds like a situation that's fraught with potentially scandalous circumstances, but fortunately it is shot through with delightful, frothy, wry comedy.
Yes, yeah. It's, I don't know, I propositioned you for covering this film by suggesting, it'll be feel good. It's something nice that we can just have a bit of a good time with. And I'll confess, I do think it's doing that. But I also think that this movie is doing quite a bit many darker things than I was anticipating. Like, this went to some areas where I just thought, that like some of the comedy is coming from the fact that we've got 14-year-olds tackling very inappropriate subject matter for their age.
Yes, and that's the thing that I think interested the director based on some interviews that I listened to. He was saying that this is very much drawn from his own childhood as a budding theatre director in his garage or basement.
Yep.
And the thing looking back on it that he found fascinating was having all of these adolescent children pretending to be adults, and even when they are not on stage, the way that they behave towards each other, how professional they're sounding, talking about their rehearsal schedules and their Ubers arriving to pick them up, they just feel as though they are 14-year-olds that are strangely caught in a Woody Allen comedy.
Yes. Yeah. It's one of those elements that I found simultaneously delightful, and it just made me feel like an old, because so many of the things that they're encountering, I thought, surely teenagers or even preteens these days aren't dealing with these kinds of things. And there's always something funny about youngsters who have a vocabulary or a level of professionalism well above their age. You know, we've seen it in things like Dawson's Creek and Buffy to a lesser extent. So this is a bit of a coming of age trope. And yet I wouldn't say that this movie is using it in the same way that those other texts have. Like, we're not trying to impress anybody by saying, no, these are actually adults masquerading as children. These are very clearly young kids because, they're drinking hard seltzers and taking stupid selfies and getting into trouble. But the way that they are approaching theater in particular feels so mature, so professional, even to the point where, Griffin is OCD, super controlling, very domineering. Everything has to be his way because he's the playwright. He's the wannabe director, even though that technically falls on his best friend, Kara. But even, these random kids that he purports to be friends with, who never invite him to any social situations, when they show up for things like, let's do the dress rehearsal, let's do the run through of the lines and stuff, they show up and they take it so seriously. And you just think, this is your summer holiday. What are you doing?
Yes, but it rings true to me. This is the kind of thing that I used to get up to as an adolescent as
Now,
well.
why does that not surprise me, Conrad?
Well, yeah, I did see a little of myself in Griffin. I was always perceived by adults as an old soul in a young body because,
Okay.
I had a large vocabulary. I was reading books that were well beyond my age range and I was talking about things. But what I find really lovely about this is that you see the dichotomy there, that despite all of his intelligence, his ambition, what he is doing in writing this play is it is just a reflection of his own anxieties of what's happening in his own home, but I don't even think he realizes it. And then, of course, as Brad enters the picture, the marvelous Brad,
Oh my God.
who is such a source of inspiration and delight to poor young Griffin, who has no idea what's hit him.
Doesn't he?
Well, I think he's got some idea. I mean, certainly he starts inserting scenes in his play after Brad joins the cast where he is smothering mayonnaise
Mayonnaise.
into himself.
Things we don't see, tragically, but I.
No, it does not happen. Thank goodness. No, somebody makes a passing reference to this new scene involving mayonnaise being rubbed into a smooth, hairless torso. And I thought,
Yeah. Oh
why
my
is that
God.
there, Griffin? Yeah. So it's quite interesting to see how his art is shifting underneath his feet
Yes.
in ways that I don't feel as though he's fully conscious of. And it, when the movie comes to its crisis point, which we will not spoil, it demonstrates that dichotomy, the gap between the way he perceives himself and reality. And
Yes.
it all comes crashing in on him. So it's quite lovely in that way that it dramatizes that so charmingly, but also in a way that makes you genuinely engaged with and concerned for the character.
Yeah, yeah, because we've not mentioned it. It's more than a crush. Well, it is and it isn't more than a crush, because in some ways it's very innocent. Like, Griffin essentially becomes obsessed with this older man who is very firmly a man and has issues of his own, but he's happy to hang around with this 14-year-old boy because Brad is being offered up all of Griffin's parents' expensive liquor. So we're draining the parents dry over the summer, and that's incentive enough for a burgeoning alcoholic 25-year-old burnout to say, yeah, I will hang around with you and do these things. And then they start to bond over their shared love of theater and performance. Brad is a failed actor, performance artist in his own right, and we get to see a video of him that is exactly what you would think terrible performance art is. There's maybe something interesting to be said for it, but you can also understand why it didn't really work for him.
No.
But I don't know. I'm such a fan of movies and books that dramatize other media. Like, we're putting on a play, and the play is saying something about us, but also the shenanigans of mounting a production and corralling actors and having petty disagreements and having things go off the rail. Like, it's a well-worn trope that I think works very, very well. But I like how the film doesn't overdo the fact that Griffin is very clearly using this play to process the parents' divorce, which is all happening in the background.
Yeah, very much in the background. And also, one of the things that it does so well is they use it to depict various different ways in which people are trying to perform adulthood.
Yes.
And that's across the board for all of the characters.
Oh, yes.
Fascinating the way it depicts that. So even Brad's happenings, his performance art. I won't spoil it because it's a delightful moment when you finally get to see it, but it is very much about him defining himself within the context of parenthood, of
the family unit.
Yeah, exactly. So the whole thing is shot through with this analysis of various different people performing adulthood and trying to
Right.
come to terms with their relationship with the concept of adulthood and their own parents as representations of it.
Yeah.
But you say all that and it sounds as though it's a horrible sort of like chin scratcher. It's not. It's a hilariously funny, bright, bubbly film that has a lot going on underneath the surface.
Yeah, yeah, and anchored by a truly revelatory child who is in the lead role. Like, here's the thing. Griffin is frequently exasperating because he's just so strict, and it feels like he's so completely out of touch with what his contemporaries are doing. You know, there's this one moment where he barges into his mom's room while she's talking on the phone, and she's clearly trying to figure out whether her husband is having an affair. And he just, you know, starts to make all these demands of her. And she's being so patient with him, but also she's kind of way too hands off and she has no idea what is actually going on with him. So those kinds of interactions carry so much weight, but also you're just like, my God, this bratty fucking kid.
Yeah, if you look under the definition of precocious, there will be a picture of this kid.
Yes.
What's great about it, and they talk about this in every interview that I've seen them in, is that despite him being so precocious in the sort of young Sheldon mold,
Yes.
you don't want to kill him.
No.
You still feel empathy towards this guy because he is a guy that has isolated himself. He hasn't really lived his childhood.
No.
And what's fun about this movie is watching him go through the arc of realizing what he's missing, and what he's missing through being so insular, so inward looking, so controlling, so focused on his own vision and not incorporating others, that he's kind of missing out.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And also because he's so focused on his own vision of Brad, he doesn't really see who he actually is.
No, because we very clearly understand who Brad is. And this is such an Owen Teague character. If you've seen this guy, he's always playing kind of squirrely fuck ups or pretty clearly antagonists. So I love the fact that he doesn't have anything more nefarious to him. Like, he's not a danger to Griffin. And the scene where everything kind of unravels and people discover what has been going on, I think it's very well executed. And again, we won't spoil it here. We'll probably spoil it over on Patreon just because I think it's worth having the conversation about. But yeah, you know, it's a 14-year-old boy and a 25-year-old man. And the movie never forgets it.
No, it doesn't, but Brad clearly does. I think he's just as oblivious as Griffin is. He has not grown up, so
no.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I have a lot of things I want to say about specific scenes and specific developments. So I think maybe we can just wrap up this spoiler-free conversation with a hearty recommendation for this film. It's like 93 minutes. It blew by. It's very funny. As you said, there's a ton more going on under the surface. And I just think it's a film that's going to get lost because it's not big and it's not showy. Apart from having Melanie Lynskey in it, I don't think anybody's going to be keeping an eye out for it. So people should, though. Like, it's well worth your time.
Absolutely. Yeah. Seek it out.
Yeah. Okay, so folks, this has been a special bonus episode. Let us know if you plan to check out the film. You can reach out on the socials at The Queer Gaze, or you can shoot us an email. No one ever shoots us an email. Comrade, I feel sad that the mailbox is often empty. So if people want to write, you can reach us at thequeergazeshow@gmail.com. But yeah, if you want to hear more of our thoughts on the film, do join us on Patreon. It's patreon.com/thequeergaze. We have bonus episodes on everything that we have covered. So if you want to hear more of the juicy stuff, that's where it is.
All the hot stuff.